Is that a new one? Is that new?
Ask him if he can hear you now.
Well,
I can hear you, but it's got to be through the, it's just at the bottom of the Zoom where that arrow is. You switch it from whatever to whatever because it's coming through with the furthest mic away from them. They sound like they're in a tin can at the bottom of the ocean, sucking
Probably my
SpongeBob.
mic. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You sound like you're in a booth.
Yeah, your mic isn't.
Mine's off good.
This is pre-production stuff here on the Rants of Izzo on Spreely.com, where we don't hide shit from you. We are truthful about everything we wind up doing. It's all about free speech, right? So we do. You guys are new to the net. We're like, oh my gosh, what is this Spreely you keep talking about? Guys, I know you like your Instagram, you like your Twitter, X, whatever it is, even though I've got banned from my 7th account or whatever, your Facebook, all this shit, but Spreely.com is where you should be. Seriously, if you want to see, I'm going to be like amping it up. Maybe I'm going to call for castrating fucking politicians. I don't know. Jerry Nadler's big hairy ass needs to be stuck up
Good.
Pelosi's head. Yeah, there we go. That's better.
Good.
Yeah, see, it's just a little switch of the roux. Switch the roux.
All right.
You gotta be talking into
Nice.
you're talking into Jerome and Brutus over there. It's the your Mike's names. Right. All right, kids. This is Wednesday. It is the Rants of Izzo show here on Spreely Media, the Burn Pit Podcast. Boys, join me. We're live in about 30 seconds here. Sit back. Go to Spreely.com. Check out the array of other content there, like news articles, social media. That's a free speech platform. You will not get censored. Some of you who are actually posting shit, you're pretty fucking vulgar, and your stuff is still left up, and it's pretty funny. You'll see the Burn Pit Podcast, Report and Opine, Shannon Joy Show, Evening Rants, and Pete Santilli, so much damn more. Let's have a show here today. God only knows what we talk about on Wednesday. I have no fucking clue what we're going to talk about.
Prepare yourself.
The opinions of the host and guests on the show are exclusively just that, opinions. That means that they shouldn't be the cause of your state of being offended. Why does everybody get so butthurt?
Okay, let's go. Ready, go!
Sit down, shut up, and pay attention. This is the Rants of Izzo Show with your hosts, Dominic Izzo, from porn to politics. We touch every third rail we can find. You might want to put your headphones on so your mom can't hear this. It's been called the most entertaining 60 minutes on the internet, and it starts now. Let's do this.
All right, good afternoon. This is the Rants of Izzo show here on Spreely.com, brought to you today by the Burn Pit Podcast, which you can watch live every Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern here on Spreely Media. They're, two guys that are taller than me, but fuck them both. I've got a sexy gray beard while they both look nice and young and shit. It is Wednesdays, and I guess Wednesday has kind of had a theme here on Spreely, or the show Rants of Izzo on Spreely TV, and we phones are always open, 708-982-0974. I know a lot of people like to sometimes call in, sometimes don't. A lot of people are afraid. Over in the chat, it's good to see Kelly, Kate, Bev, Morgan, April, Sean, Jen, Sarah, Bev, all you guys. It's great to see you. We have a chat. Rants of Izzo show. Lots of stuff gets shared in there where I can't keep up with a lot of content, but it's good to see community. But anyways, we kind of have discussions about the reality of shit on Wednesdays more than any other day of the week. It's just, it is what it is. I think all three of us are fed up with the way fucking life is. So instead of going, hey, what'd you think about the debate last night? Well, I thought the Vance had a really good position. It's kind of like, fuck them all. Let's just go to caveman days where we beat people with a jawbone in their fucking head and take their food. But we can't get to that way. We can't get to that way yet. So I thought we would start today off properly and acknowledge
Inquisition. Let's begin the Inquisition.
we're going to be talking about stuff
We
today.
have a mission to convert the Jews.
Jews.
We're gonna teach
Today will be about the Jews, as we know, because that's what we do on Wednesdays.
that they can't refuse.
And, I mean,
Confess
Don't be boring. All right, I'm not going to break out in that whole fucking number, even though I love it. All right, so in all seriousness, we do have a very, it's a topical conversation. We do tend to talk more about the Jewish issue with America that I've been looking more into going, holy shit, we do have a legitimate problem. And if you've seen the evolution of me weekly, brick by brick, it's gone from, hey, Matt, why the fuck should I care about what's happening 6,000 miles away to, holy shit, this religion is rooted in suppressing those of us who are non-Jewish. And we could say the same damn thing for those of us who are Christian, because we believe if you don't accept Christ, you're going to hell. So there's no fucking difference. It is what it is. I do want to talk about Iran. And there was an attack yesterday. I do have a friend who does live in Israel, and she was sending me some like pictures of shit and videos. And I couldn't care less about the religious aspect. I care about loss of life that is senseless on both sides for people who just want to live. What the fuck is going on? Because as I asked last week, I thought we were attacking Hezbollah. I thought, we, right? Because that's what it is. Because arbitrarily, as an American, I'm supposed to just back Israel no matter what. But I thought that this was Israel defending themselves against Hezbollah, and Hezbollah is from within the Palestinian people. I haven't heard shit from anything other than Iran. Last time, does Iran have anything to do with Palestine? Can you help to kind of link the connection of where those of us like me who are just being told what to do like good boys now should start paying attention?
Well, I think
it was Hamas first. Then now it's turned into Hezbollah.
Well, currently, yes. I mean, you have to remember they have always wanted Iran taken out. They publicly admitted this in 2001 after 9/11 that they want to take these countries out. That's Israel's last true enemy, big enemy. These other smaller ones like Lebanon, that's why they attacked Beirut. They send missiles over there last time. You have to understand they even assassinated, I said this on your show maybe a month and a half ago, Dominic, where they assassinated a Hezbollah or Hamas leader in Iran, in the capital, Tehran. They want Iran taken out because they don't want them to get nukes, right? That's the whole thing. It's Israel's enemy. It's not really America's enemy. It's only America's enemy because we finance and facilitate Israel to take over that whole region. Again, I brought this up before. They want that entire region. That's the Israeli flag is the two blue lines on top is the Euphrates River, Nile River. They want to control that whole area, which I believe is called the Levant, if I'm not mistaken. And again, they cannot do it without America. So, unfortunately, this evil, disgusting, racist, supremacist ideology that is Judaism/Zionism, they've been doing this for years. They've been doing it for decades. And people are sick of them. And even America actually gives money to places like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, basically to keep those governments at bay to not do anything. And this is why these countries will not really take in Palestinian refugees, because not only can they not really take care of their own people, but they're paid by the U.S. government not to intervene as well. And, everyone can sit there and call Iran terrorists all they want to, but, I thought North Korea was our enemy. North Korea has nukes. How come we're not going after them? Oh, they're not neighbors with Israel.
Well,
that's what it is.
In the conversation here, to give a bigger, broader picture here, as a country, we've been dealing with Iran for some time. Even you think back to the Carter administration with the Iran hostage crisis. Reagan gets elected president. Within a short period of time, they let the hostages go. Then going even back in the last couple of decades, you're looking at that Iran nuclear deal program that Obama had put into place. But, the people on the right will say, well, Iran, they are screaming death to America in the streets when they have these protests over there and things like that. So they don't have to be fair, they don't have a fond view of us really either.
And why is that?
Well, because obviously our connection and relationship with Israel, we fund Israel. And of course, the bombs that are coming down in Lebanon, I would imagine would either have been manufactured by an American military company. I would imagine a lot of those bombs.
Lockheed Martin.
We replace their stockpile quite frequently. We give them money all the time. In fact, $8.5 billion now
Just got approved.
on the table. But the issue there in the Obama era with Iran was that the picture that the media painted was that Iran hates us. Iran hates America. And Obama working with Iran on this nuclear deal, which allowed, I guess, UN inspectors to come in and inspect their facilities to keep. It was a 10-year deal. I think it's expired.
Yeah, I don't know.
But also there was some shady things going around at that time too, where there were pallets of cash in different denominations.
Let me stop you there. That was not money that was ours that we were giving to Iran. That was money that was seized by us. That was Iranian money that we then unfroze those assets and gave back to them.
But it looks a little shady here to be
well,
fair.
yeah, but the media doesn't tell you the truth.
Well, they do it in the middle of the night where they're flying, and there are different denominations in millions and millions of dollars. So it does look like
it wasn't our money, though.
I hear you. Right. I hear you. But so our relationship with Israel and Iran's relationship, there's been turmoil there for I don't know however long, but it does seem that the narrative here, Gaza has now kind of been forgotten in the media, not totally. The focus now has shifted from Hamas, which is a political organization or a terrorist organization, as we label them here in the United States. The American media will label Hamas a terrorist group, but it's a political arm of their government over there in Palestine. And then it's shifted now from Hamas to Hezbollah. Hezbollah is another organization that we would label in the American media as a terrorist organization. So, but since October 7th, there has been this going on conflict, but Hezbollah has gotten involved too at times where I guess they've shot across the border. Israel will claim that they're just defending themselves. This is, I believe it's Iran's second attempt or second strike, because they did send drones. This was over the early winter timeframe of this year. We had a conversation with Dr. E. Michael Jones about drones coming in. Israel they shot down a majority of these drones. There were some ballistic missiles that were fired. They got like 90% shot down, something like that. But when you see these videos currently of Iran bombing, I believe it's Tel Aviv.
Yeah, I think it's multiple areas, but Tel Aviv was hit.
The focus there, if you'll notice, the focus on these bombings, they're focused on military. Yes. They're focused on the military. So these areas and these targets are military targets, where you would see people pointing out that when Israel's attacking Gaza, that a lot of these targets are hospitals, schools, different civilian areas,
anywhere.
Because Hamas is in there.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. Well, we had intelligence that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. So we blew up this hospital that had 1,200 people in it, but there's 3 Hamas in there, so we got it done. So there's a difference there. Allegedly. But for the conversation that we're having here, the conversation has shifted from Palestine, Gaza, Hamas, to now Lebanon, Hezbollah, Iran. So this conflict's growing, and it's going to continue to grow unless we stop footing the bill.
And I believe our U.S. government, Biden or Harris, whatever, Biden's probably not even, competent mentally, but they activated 700 National Guardsmen to go over there from Tennessee. Yeah. And usually what they do is they just go over there to help facilitate some sort of setup, some pre-planning operations. They're not going over there for military operations, but they're sending money. They just approved, again, $8.7 billion to Israel or whatever it was. Yeah. So again, this is both sides of the aisle. This is both the Democrat and Republicans supporting this. So I know you get conflicted arguments and opinions from the Republicans, like Trump saying in his speech 2 weeks ago, if Kamala wins, Israel isn't going to survive. They're not going to exist. If Kamala wins, Israel is in trouble. And then you hear the opposite from other people, and it's like, well, Trump's not going to get us into war. There's no way he's going to get us into war over there, even though he just said that if he doesn't get elected, they're going to be in trouble. So, you have retardation on both sides of the aisle, and it's tough to deal with. But the whole thing is this: there is no Iranian lobby in America. There is no Lebanese lobby in America of any meaningful capacity anyway. There is no Palestinian lobby in America. However, there is an Israeli lobby, and it's the biggest one in the United States of America, and it has been that way for decades.
Who created this? Because I want to point something out. I've known a few people who are from Iran, and actually Americans who were teachers in Iran in the 60s and 70s. And if anybody has never done any research, Iran in the 70s or the 60s does not look what it looks like today. It actually looks extremely Americanized. My question, when I'm looking at all this, and if I look at geography, we have Afghanistan, which is a border to Iran. My Machiavellian, nefarious, vindictive brain goes to conflict seems to be America's bread and butter. And if something is 6,000 miles away that we really have no business in, why don't we create something? Where is the Iran in the 1960s, 70s, 50s, very Americanized, very, open and looks, and I keep hearing from people who have been there that it was so peaceful, so beautiful, amazing people. Then all of a sudden in the early 70s, you've got American hostages are taken from the Munich Olympics, right? And now we have a problem, which creates an enemy. Oh my God, we need to fucking hate Iran. And we have Afghanistan, which is bordering Iran. We had that abysmal pullout, a year or two years ago, with $7 billion of military equipment left over, which can easily be transported across the border. How much of this is fucking manufactured by the United States? Meaning, if Iran is the smallest bit of competition, and here's Israel, all right, let's create 6 million victims and say that Israel is the victim in this. Let's plant. Hey, you guys are terrorists in Iran. We're going to give you X amount of hostages from the Olympics, and we're going to let you hold them for a year. And then 42 years from now, or almost 50 years from now, we're going to leave about $7 billion worth of weapons over there for you to wind up taking it further your cost. My point is when you look at all this shit and you red string shit across the wall, it looks like we have a hand in creating an enemy for a common purpose. So ultimately speaking, if I'm going to say rewind 3, 4, 5 months ago, I don't care about this Jew stuff. Now I look at, well, if Israel is kind of pulling the strings, I can easily see them manipulating the United States and saying, hey, we hate Iran because it's too progressive, it's too good, it's too cool, all this shit. Let's put together a play where all of a sudden the United States recognizes Iran as an enemy and then bit by bit continue to villainize them. Because how the fuck did this come to play anyways?
Yeah. The world's a stage, right? And there's that old saying that politics is Hollywood for ugly people. But of course, the United States intelligence, the CIA, and other unnamed agencies can absolutely pull strings on a world stage. They can set up leaders in different areas. People think that
coups and
they can do all that. People think that Osama bin Laden was a CIA asset.
Osama bin Laden came out publicly multiple times and said the American people are not my enemy, the government is.
Right. So here in Iran in the 60s, it did look very Americanized. There was a lot of freedom over there. And then I believe in the late 70s, it was declared an Islamic Republic with the Ayatollah Khomeini. He took over there. And once it was declared an Islamic Republic, then you started to see those freedoms and different things change there in that area. And as hard as we are on the Zionists and the Judaism and the Cabal and all these different, the Talmud, there's some issues there with Islam that you got to point to too. That's very backwards. There's not a lot of progressive. Not that we're for that or anything, but you look at a lot of these countries. I think just recently Saudi Arabia just allowed women to drive. I have an employee that works for me that's from Morocco. He's a legal immigrant, and he said, in Morocco after 9 p.m., if you're with a man other than say your husband or your brother or your father or a cousin or a relative, then you could get arrested or you could be taken and taken back home.
That's extreme. So, that's kind of my point, Scott, is that's an extreme going from how the lifestyle was in the 50s, 60s, 70s to all of a sudden in a matter of years, not decades, years, it changes that. Did the United States have a hand in creating a future enemy? Because how else could a fucking thriving nation like that just change literally in a matter of years? It does not make sense.
Yeah, they might have had, I'll give Matt's sake here to say, they might have helped facilitate something like this, putting in new leadership in Iran or those areas. And Iran suffered economically because no one will trade with them. All these different,
Russia will.
yeah, or China.
Yeah, they're number one, number two allies.
Yeah. But so they've been harmed. They put all these different restrictions economically on Iran. And but the Islamic State over there, they are hard on their people. I mean, years ago, you had an issue with a woman that took her veil off, her hijab, and they beat her to death. And there was this huge protest in the streets. There was an uprising. So, yes, they probably have a hand in facilitating some of these leaders coming in and putting them into power. I don't know what you think there, man.
Well, I mean, how far back do you want to go, Dominic? How about, did we set up a future enemy? Well, you did whenever you facilitated Israel as a nation state. And before that, you did so whenever you implemented the Balfour Declaration. That wasn't technically America. That was Great Britain with Lord Rothschild when they set up Palestine as the Jewish settlement. And then back 1948, after World War II, it became the ethno-state of Israel. And whenever you do that, and then they want to take over the whole area, and they've been ethnically cleansing Muslims out of the Palestinian area, and also going to war with Egypt in the 6-Day Wars, where they blew up the USS Liberty, intentionally attacked them. And you have all these things. So whenever you put Israel, whenever you put the racist supremacist Judeo-Zionist state of Israel into place, you're going to create enemies in that area. And whenever America is the number one facilitator of that racist supremacist state, then yes, you're going to create enemies. I mean, how far back do you want to go? I mean, it's just, that's what it is. You don't have to go to 1970. You can go before that.
When you think about it, what they did after World War II is they took a bunch of white Europeans and plopped them in the middle of the Arab world. It's not like they just, hey, we have some free land over here that you can just have. They had to remove people from their homes. They had to annex people from different areas, and they had to start this state over there. You had to remove people from their land. You had to.
Well, they weren't white Europeans. They were Jews.
Well, that's Jewish. I hear you. But
okay.
the majority, yes, they're Jewish. Yes. But they weren't Arab.
No, I mean, there's some Christians over there. As a matter of fact, one of the oldest Christian churches is actually in Palestine. One of the oldest known Christian churches is in Palestine. That being said, there isn't any there isn't any call in the the Quran for destroying every person that's non-Arab. But there is, I just sent you a video today with another rabbi calling for the destruction of white people
I'm
and everyone else.
Yeah, I'm of the mind of this. Like I say it quite a bit. I read the Bible. I follow Christ. I'm not a Christian because I do not like their hypocritical, and I'm massively generalizing, their hypocritical, outwardly demonstrative, look at me, I'm holier than thou bullshit. I do know that a lot of Christians out there don't know the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament, and half of them out there fucking want the fiery power of God instead of the new covenant out there. So I kind of separate myself from that. I have Muslim friends who will go have a beer, who will watch porn, all this. So they're not practicing Muslim. When we talk about this, the Jewish issue, which is why I brought up last time, is this a religion or a culture? I know several people who are Jewish, but they don't practice shit. So when we look at this, I'm talking about the people who are devout Jews, follow the letter of their Torah or whatever it is. I don't even remember what it's called. And there is no ambiguity about what they say. From everything I've seen, it's not one or two zealots. It is every person who believe, just like me, I believe the only capital O, capital N, capital L, capital Y way to get to heaven is by accepting Christ. That's it. There's no other way. Their beliefs are 100% in adherence to people like me need to be their fucking slave. Yeah, so I'm not disputing that anymore at all.
That's what the Torah teaches.
Talmud too.
That's what well, let's just take the Torah. It's the Old Testament. That's what it teaches. It says God will rule over the nations with an iron rod. It literally says that they will enslave all of the Gentiles. It literally says that. So if you are a Jew and you practice Judaism, you believe in that. The Old Testament is a pretty fucked up book or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. There is all kinds of things in there that says God tells you to enslave your children or your wives or whatever. It says that Jews will rule over the Gentiles. It literally says that. So if you are practicing the Torah and following the Torah, you are a literal racist religious supremacist.
They're the only ones. They're the only ones.
That's what it says.
They're the only ones.
Look at the book of.
They're the only ones who get that free pass when you look at it. Christians are condemned. Oh, so I'm going to hell? Muslims are condemned. Oh, you got to behead all Christians? Jews, practicing Jews, are the only ones that you are not allowed to criticize for their practice of faith.
You look at what he's referring to. There's the book of Leviticus. You have the different rules and structures of Leviticus rules there. You also have in Deuteronomy, there's some really harsh things. The God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament look like two separate gods. And then one of my favorite Old Testament books is actually 1 Samuel. And in 1 Samuel, there's an instruction there by God to kill the Amalek. He said, kill the women, the children, and the livestock. The issue there with Christians today is that they don't, for the most part, I don't know why when it comes to Israel, they still adhere to some of the Old Testament verses, but for the most part, they understand that sacrificing an animal no longer gets you free from sin. The sacrifice was made. The blood of the lamb is Christ, right? Agnus Dei, Lamb of God. So there's no more animal sacrifices for forgiveness of sins. Christians don't practice that. But when you look at like today, the Jewish people of today, including the prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, he literally likened the people of Gaza and Palestine
as
to Amalek. People that don't get that reference. I mean, this is the leader of the country that can issue and make orders when it comes to military, these military hits. You're having the prime minister coming out and saying they're Amalek. And when you reference that to the Old Testament, Amalek was the group that God said, kill the women, the children, and the livestock, leave nothing left.
People don't.
Go ahead.
People don't. When we say things like it's the religion of Satan, people don't understand how actually accurate that is. When you look at the two differences between the Old Testament and the New Testament, the Old Testament was all about you performing, right? You obeying. Hey, if God says, take your son and sacrifice him on this rock for me, your action dictated your reward, right? Put the blood of the lamb over the door. You can't walk with your mat. And there was a ton of different laws that the Jews had to follow. New Testament was God saying, you fuckers can't live up to what my expectations are, so I'm sending my son to wind up paying the debt. When we talk about this being the religion of Satan, here's the biggest key. Scott, what was Satan's biggest sin?
Well, pride was ego, pride. He was beautiful angel. The Bible said he was the most gorgeous angel. He was also, I believe, in charge of music.
Right. Pride is the issue. Well, when you look at it, this is why, and it's not being insultive. If you sit there and say, all of a sudden, my whole life has been brought up on be a good Jew by doing X, Y, and Z, pray this manner, don't eat this, don't use electronics, all this stuff on this date, I can't, and you have all these actions you are supposed to do to get your reward, and then say, well, we're going to remove all that, and that reward has already been paid for you. That's the fucking difference. They're still operating on pride. It's me, 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 me. Christians have to humble ourselves and go, fuck, no matter how much I do shit, I can never get in heaven because I'm a piece of shit. I have to surrender and be willing that somebody else paid the price for me because I'm not fucking good enough. That's why their religion is of Satan. It is 100% pride-based.
Right. Yeah, and in John chapter 8, and you read about Christ's interaction there with the Pharisees and the Sadducees, he says it blatantly to him. He said, we don't have the same Father. We don't serve the same God. You serve a different Father. In Acts, it talks about the Star of Remphan. It talks about, let me
repeat that. If anybody wants to look at my shirt.
Right. So
there is nothing. There is nothing.
This is true, Dominic.
In the Old Testament. There is nothing in the New Testament. There is nothing in the Talmud. Nothing that says there is a Star of David or references any star to David. It does not exist.
I'll do you one better.
It does not exist. There is a 6-pointed star of Remphan, which was some evil spirit that I believe, and I could be wrong, occupied Saturn, which is where you get the name Saturday, Saturn's Day. And Saturn's Day is when Jews practice that's their religious day. Yeah. It's not Sunday, it's Saturn's Day. Right. This is anybody can research this. Anybody can look this up.
Yeah. No, Matt's right. There is not a mention of the Star of David. There is, the star that the 3 wise men followed to Bethlehem to be there for the birth of Christ. That is not the Star of David. The Star of David is not mentioned in the Bible, not once, not in the Old, not in the New. Just like Matt said, he's absolutely 100% correct.
Well, so 6 points.
They are
6 points. 6 points.
But there is some things we can get into that. With Saturn too.
Saturn has go on forever.
Saturn has 6 rings. Saturn's the 6th planet from the sun. All this different stuff. So, anyways. This is all very, very interesting stuff. And people that do want to do their own research and actually read into these things, the information is out there. You just have to search it, and you have to have a want to know what's going on. And it is the reason why this conversation is pertinent today is because you have to realize that here in our government, Jews are overwhelmingly represented in a position of power. Whether it's cabinet positions, also whether it's this group AIPAC that funds all these politicians,
complete total power and influence over our Congress.
Look, who's the CEO of BlackRock?
Larry Fink.
Right. So and that's the largest corporation on the planet. Mm-hmm. So that's just one huge example. Yeah. But down the line, they're overwhelmingly represented in places of finance, Hollywood, media, big tech, you name it.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Pharmaceutical.
We can cover our eyes and plug our ears and go, no, that can't be. They're our greatest ally, and they love us, and we have the same values. But you look and research into things, there has to be this. They have to forego this adoption ideology of that we're God's chosen people, and that what we have in our blood and our veins is better what they have in theirs, and they were created to serve us. That ideology's got to go. It's got to go.
It's a supremacist idea. And the funny thing is they call me a white supremacist for pointing that out.
Right.
For me pointing out their supremacy, their racism, I am a white supremacist for pointing it out.
Look, and we can talk about Islam. Islam definitely has its faults. Yeah. There's no question about it, right?
Yeah, but 80% of our government isn't Islamic.
And that's the point here.
I want to go a step further because I used to watch this guy's name, Rob Skiba, I think his name was, and he passed away a couple years ago. He used to do these fantastic videos that are available on YouTube. If anybody ever has never watched them, watch them. He is so biblically, like, if you can't find it in the Bible, then it doesn't fucking exist in his world when he was around. And he showed this phenomenal connection between linking, like, even Greek mythology, how we would talk about gods like Zeus and all these immortals, and that could reflect back to the time before God limited our days to 120 years. So if I'm born in 200 BC and I see Methuselah, who's already alive, he's 600 years old, he's going to be immortal to me, if that makes sense. So a couple different things that I saw was Satan is also referenced as Apollo, and Apollo is the god of the sun in Roman and Greek mythology. And then you've got the Gilgamesh and what's his other fucking name? I can't remember his other name. The hell was his other name? The Tower of Babel. Damn it!
Yeah, because Apollo was the light bearer, correct? Apollo was the light bearer. I could be wrong.
Anyway,
real quick. Go ahead.
Well, this is where I'm going with this because you brought this up about Saturn. Saturn is the planet. The Edomite, Edomite, Judeans associate with their god now called Satan. The Edomites themselves were descendants of the tribe of Esau, who mated with the Canaanites, worshippers of Moloch. Moloch is the Minotaur, Greek mythology again, half demon, half man, half bull, to which the Canaanites made sacrifices to. Moloch's sign is a hexagram star. Such a hexagram star is a symbol of Canaanite origin in biblical times. Scott, if you could look at Matt's shirt, does that not a hexagon star?
That is what that is. Yes,
Yeah,
that's correct.
just
6 side hexagon, hex 6.
This has been known for a long time. It's just not put out there in the mainstream, and obviously that is done on purpose, as we have pointed out multiple times. Okay, this is, again, and the sad part is, Dominic, that you bring this up to people, you get 2 types of responses, maybe 3. Either they refuse to look at the information that you show them, just completely refuse to look. Or if they do look, they refuse to believe it. This is a great brainwashing technique. Okay? It's called cognitive dissonance. They refuse to accept reality. They refuse to accept factual evidence for 2 reasons. And then this is the main reason. You are demonized if you publicly speak like we are speaking right now. You know this, Dominic. You lose your bank accounts, depending on who you are. You lose all your contracts. You might even lose relationships. That's number 2. Number 1. Number 2 is, even if you do believe it, you stay quiet. You can believe it all day. Most people shut up because they don't want to speak the truth. You know, it's the same thing with every aspect of this this supremacist religion and everything in their history. You can't talk. You can say whatever the fuck you want about China. You can say whatever the fuck you want about Islam and Arabs and Muslims. Right. You're all good. Right. You say one factual thing, no matter how much evidence you have, you're demonized and you're called every name in the book. But like I said on the last show, Dominic, they can never call you wrong.
Islam, though, will take. You have those. The history of Islam taking matters in their own hands, defending their prophet and defending the God. When it gets like the comic in France who wrote a whole depiction of Muhammad or something, right? He wrote a cartoon and it was whatever. Guys went in there, they cut his head off, right? That's them saying, you can't mock our God, you can't mock our prophet. Yeah. We're going to go out and kill you. I'm not saying that that's less worse. They're both. Either way you look at it, you have violent extremists on one side that are willing to defend their faith at a very local level in other countries. And then on the other side, you have this religion that wants to enslave everybody else, and they want to rule over everything because they believe it's their divine right to. That's what they believe. They believe.
You just pointed that out again. Look at that's what Andrew Tate left. He left Christianity and he went back to Islam because he had been so tired. He said about the West's passive aggressive way of practicing their faith. To him, Islam was black and white. You either practice your faith or don't. When you look at this nonstop toxic masculinity attack on males we have in the Western world, right? So when you really, really, really boil it down to, like, I can never go to China and say, oh my God, you guys got to stop eating dogs, because that's their culture. It's all they know. It's their fucking life, this and that. Same thing with Islam. It's not our place as Westerners to look at those who practice Islam in other countries and sit there, oh, you're throwing Christians off and be a building and decapitating gays. That's their fucking religion. That's in their DNA. They don't want that in America, because if we were that devout, that defensive of our faith, they would have a hard fucking time achieving their goals. So what do? Well, you got to be the Christians who turn the other cheek. You got to be don't buy a sword. And what do? What have we talked about in movies over the last several decades? Jocks are always vilified. Men are fucking pussified. Dads on TV are fucking, they bend over to the wives running these shots. If Jews are really running things, what do? You milk yourself on a position of being sympathetic. And just like that guy said, why do you not see any masculine Jews in sports? Well, we're running shit behind the scenes while you're taking care of yourselves. If I'm going to plan and overtake a world, I will weaken the men out there on their faith, pussify them, and those meek who I fooled you into supporting with 6 million of them dying, so you gain sympathy for decades over it, then they're going to rise up, and now you're too much of a fucking pussy to defend yourself in your faith. You're too confused, and we're going to steamroll right over you.
Yeah, there's no question that there's an attack on masculinity. And it just through all the different avenues and sources that you're talking about, whether it's through media, whether it's through television, Hollywood,
I would go further, Scotty. I think it's an attack on white masculinity.
That's fair. I think that's fair. And they've been able to kind of spread that message through Christianity in the church. And what Andrew Tate has talked about, which we've also talked about, which is, you look at the opening ceremonies of the Paris Olympics where they mock the Last Supper.
Faggots.
They would have never done it. They would have never done something where the opening ceremony
Orchestrated that.
I do. Who was that? Yeah. So but they would have never done anything like that in France there, especially with the large Muslim populations over there. Let's say they brought out a actor that was playing Muhammad, and he brings out his 9-year-old wife, and they're dancing around, and another 9-year-old girl starts coming out, and they're depicting a marriage ceremony between Muhammad, who's an old man, and this 9-year-old girl. Paris would have been burned to the ground, because that's how seriously that Islam takes their faith. And you can call them extremists, but it seems like Hollywood media, they're able to mock Christ however they want to, whenever they want to. They put out a series on Netflix mocking and saying Jesus was gay. Try that with Muhammad. See how that goes,
Dave,
Netflix.
America has successfully turned Christ's name into a swear. You stub your toe, Jesus Christ. They've successfully mainstreamed his name into a curse word.
Yeah, I mean,
it does seem to be targeted to, I agree with Matt here, at specifically white men. And you can even go say white Christian men are the problem. I mean, when you look at who's on the FBI watch list, who's the number one, list of terrorists. When you look at they're saying white nationalists, white Christian nationalists are the number one threat.
They did say it was the number one. Merrick Garland.
That's right. He's
the head of the DOJ said that white supremacy is the number one threat to America.
That's right.
And we talked about this last week. Where do you see white supremacist violence anywhere?
I don't.
When's the last time a Ku Klux Klan member attacked anybody?
Charlottesville, Matt. Charlottesville,
they
Virginia.
redefined
that guy never even identified as a white. He just ran over a far left liberal purple-haired female.
They redefined it, just like they redefine everything else. White supremacy now is you being a father, staying at home, leading a household with a wife who actually runs that household, cooks, cleans, raises the kids while you work. I couldn't find the tie-in. I couldn't find the tie-in to the porn industry and why the Jews would run the porn industry to destroy men. And now it makes sense to me, dude. If you take things on a biblical level, and you have the biblical structure, you've got God, then you've got husband, then wife, then kids. Well, if you destroy that format through feminism, and all of a sudden you got women who could sit there and overtly sexualize themselves, and now they're in control and not doing as the Bible says, which is submitting to their husbands, and the husbands do the same thing to their fucking wives. Now you create an outlet to all these poor fucking longing men who can't get their dick sucked whenever they fucking want to at home, so they got to go online and look at shit and all of a sudden pollute themselves. This is a brilliant war on, I'll absolutely say, white men, families, people who are fucking supposed to be of a faith, a foundation, and it just makes more and more sense the more that I have you guys on Wednesdays. You're fucking converting me.
Yeah, and who was the top key figure in the feminist movement in the 60s? Gloria Steinem.
There you go.
Anyway,
it always leads back.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And the funny thing is, if I'm in a dark alley at night or it's late night and I'm hitting the ATM machine, I'm not looking over my fucking shoulder for white supremacists. I'm looking over my shoulder for fucking migrants or non-white BLM activists. Okay? Look at the fucking FBI criminal statistics, Dominic. You've said it before.
Yeah.
Who commits all the violent crime? Mm-hmm. White Ku Klux Klan members?
6% of the population.
Look, we built this system. We built it. It's systemic racism. That's the problem.
It's so unbelievable. But again, this is what they do. And the average citizen, the average normie cuck, buys into it. And it's, the real problem is the conservative right, who claims, the media is full of shit. The media is corrupt. The media is deceitful. Hollywood's too liberal. Hollywood's far left. Hollywood's deceptive. Your government is lying to you. The government's deceptive. The government's corrupt. but I'm going to believe everything they say about white supremacy, World War I, World War II, and the war on terror.
Yeah.
I'm going to believe everything they say about those subjects, but in every other subject,
that makes a lot of sense.
They're the other ones.
They're lying about the vaccines.
Yeah.
They're pushing the vaccines, but I'll believe this.
Yeah. It makes me lose respect for Americans in general. It's just and conservative ones at that.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch the debate last night?
I caught a little bit. You know, I did. Oh, did you, Dominic?
I did, and I actually was very pleased with two gentlemen. Waltz, whatever, he lost the debate. He was kind of unprepared. I was actually really impressed. If I could get out of my head, if I suspended the disbelief for 1 second that people weren't just chosen and pre-selected and all this shit, then I was a little bit hopeful, saying, man, J.D. Vance, he was more presidential than fucking Trump ever has been. It's pretty impressive. I was impressed.
Yeah, I caught it for a little bit. I agree with you.
Would you say that Israel won and America lost?
for the sake of the conversation with the debate, Tim Walz looked very nervous. J.D. Vance, he looked good. He looked on point. I think here's the thing about the Republican-Democrat paradigm here. I think everybody really, at this point, should know who they're voting for. And if there is like a select few out there, let's say there's 2 to 5% of independent moderates on both sides, Democrat, Republicans, that watch that as an undecided voter. If you're an undecided voter with a half a brain, you would have looked at Tim Walz and been like, okay, the only thing he's trying to sell, like their policy position is, we're not Trump.
Yep.
That's all they have to do. And that's all they have to do. The left, it doesn't matter, because as long as they're not Trump, then we're going to vote for you.
But which side sucked Israel's cock more?
They really didn't talk about it.
Really?
No.
Okay.
No. They really didn't talk about that. But on the right side of things, he's got to sell an actual economic policy plan. He's got, Vance has to sell all these things because of the picture that the media has painted that Trump's bad, Trump's a racist. And you know what? But here, they don't even, they brought up January 6th. They brought up, Tim Walz asked the question, do you think that Trump did lose the election, which, Vance didn't answer straight ahead. He just said, hey, we're focused on the future. I don't know why you just can't say, yeah, you know what, Biden was the president the last 4 years, dummy. Of course, he didn't win the election in 2020. They want that conspiracy. I don't know why they won't touch that. But Tim Walz, he's an interesting individual. When you think about it, the guy's not worth a lot of money. Him and his wife are kind of weird. I don't know if you've ever been around some of these like Great Lakes people. They're strange cats. They are. They're very strange. And two, that's also where a lot of the violence took place during 2020. These BLM rallies and all these different.
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
He's the governor of Minnesota.
George Floyd what?
They would have.
George Floyd what?
He let it go on.
He
let it go on. He let him riot. And Dominic, I think what Tim Walz should have done is, I think he should have gone out there and said, 2020, I let Minneapolis burn. And you know what? If we don't win this election in November, January 6th is going to look like a Kentucky high school field trip.
Him, Newsom.
I have more respect for him.
Him, Newsom, and my governor, J.B. Pritzker, are also allowing non-U.S. citizens to become police officers. They made a big deal about it in Minneapolis, where they swore in a Somali female. I don't know if she's a citizen or not, but that worked out well for that white woman who was shot and killed by a Somali police officer a couple of years ago, for those who don't remember. But they swore in a Hispanic woman, Vera. I can't remember her first name. Vera is her last name. She's a non-resident. Or she's a non-citizen. Yeah. She's I believe they call it permanent resident. I don't care what the semantics is on that. You're not a fucking U.S. citizen. You do not belong working in that role. But Walz, who also changed, if you look at the Minnesota state flag, he changed it. It looks just like a fucking Somali flag. Yep. It looks like a flag.
Oh, wow. What the fuck? What the fuck's anybody gonna do about it?
Nothing. That's the problem.
You Dominic, I saw that you liked my post that I posted a tweet of Chris Langdon.
I didn't like it. I fucking loved it. I fucking loved it.
So right now, I really liked it. And again, this is the guy with the highest IQ recorded I believe, the highest IQ in the world recorded. And it was very pleasing seeing him basically saying, obviously, he was definitely more, he wrote that a lot well than I could, but he said the exact same thing, Dominic, that me and you say all the time.
Yeah.
I was very impressed by him.
Yeah. The Waltz guy on just his appearance, taking him at face value, seems like a very, he's a school teacher. He's just a plain American, white, older guy. But deep down, he seems very boring, him and his wife. But deep down, make no mistake, these people have radical ideas. And that's really what J.D. Vance should have exposed there, some of these radical ideas they have. But I thought J.D. Vance did a really nice job. I thought he did a nice job. And even if it is a show, even like I said, politics is Hollywood for ugly people. But it was a nice showing by J.D. Vance. If you're watching that and you're in the 2 to 5% of undecided independents in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, whatever, you're going, all right, this guy I can stomach a little bit. I can't listen to Harris cackle for another 4 years. And Trump, as long as we have somebody level-headed there, I guess maybe I'll vote for them. But, who knows? Who knows? I think if by this point, everybody should know who they're voting for. That's if you're voting at all.
Yeah. I don't even know I'm going to vote. I have no fucking clue. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do anymore. And
I'll be writing in the name.
We'll circle jerk. Let's each one of us write each other's names in.
The thing about the debate last night is they didn't even bring up that port strike with the dock workers. They didn't bring that up.
How
that
are you
wasn't
going to
even
solve
talked
that?
about.
Right. How are you going to solve that? That's what they should have asked. That would have been on the fly, which would have proven that neither side got the questions ahead of time. They didn't fucking ask that at all. Can we talk about the fact that the union rep who's leading that has a net worth of, he makes an annual salary of $750,000 a year?
Yep, that's correct. I thought it was more than that. I heard 900,000, but I could be wrong. He had even Elon Musk made a tweet saying this guy owns more yachts than I do. And the guy has been charged with or was under indictment for RICO charges, I believe. Embezzlement. So but it's a union boss leader. Yep. So come on.
Yep. Scotty, you said that their toilet paper's out by you again. The fucking dumbasses.
Yeah, dude. My wife gets a phone call this morning from a good friend of hers, and she's like, what are you doing? It sounds like a lot of noise in the background. She goes, I'm at Sam's Club getting toilet paper because all the liberals are here buying out all the toilet paper. So then she goes over to Target, which is right next door, and she goes, the stock here is empty too. There's all the toilet papers are going off the shelf again.
It must be Allegheny County. Washington County, there was no shortage anywhere.
Well, I don't know. I hope we don't go back to the retards that are buying toilet paper.
What do you mean go back? It's getting worse. It's getting worse. People are getting dumber.
Why the toilet paper there? I never got that during COVID. I understand. Talking about a respiratory disease. It's not like it gave people diarrhea. I don't get it. What was I'm still mad about the toilet paper. I'm not going to forgive anybody for that. If you were a retard that went out and bought toilet paper in mass in March of 2020, I still got a bone to pick.
There's no fucking hope for America.
It's bullshit. God. What the?
Harold Daggett is the guy who's in charge of this. Harold Daggett's the union rep in 2005. The U.S. Department of Justice accused Daggett of being an associate to the prominent Genovese family, the crime family. He was, along with fellow ILA member Arthur Coffey, charged with extortion, conspiracy, and mail and wire fraud, according to the Journal of Commerce. Both were later acquitted. Oh, is that because he fucking turned little rat for the government? In his trial, Daggett attested that he was a target of the mob. During his testimony, he described being threatened with his life in 1980 by George Barone. He admitted a former Genovese mob killer and former ILA vice president testified in his trial. Dude, the mob, which everybody fucking loves, they got infiltrated by the government is a fucking mob too. And I think what happened is the government just swooped in with all these, and it's my heritage, Dago Wop tough guys who fucking said this thing of ours is going to be whatever. And then when they were squeezed, it's like, nah, I'm not going to prison for 30 years. What do you guys need? And that's how they did their shit. And it's still in fucking play with all these people. Union bosses, oh my God, I can't stand unions. Unions do nothing but
Go ahead. Yeah. Do you think this is the October surprise here? Like, let's say
Diddy's the October surprise. Fuck that. Diddy's got. They're not always saying that. They're claiming to name names. They're claiming to name names. I think the October surprise is going to be so fucking scandalous. It's going to distract. It's the hand up the skirt while they're fucking tickling your ass. Right? Somebody's going to be shoving something in your mouth that you just don't know about. So I think whatever the October surprise is, that's a huge distraction from something else.
Okay.
Now they still haven't released the Epstein list.
Oh,
how many years has that been?
Yeah, so I don't think. And put it this way, let's just say they are going to name names. How the fuck are we going to know they're legitimate?
Well, because Diddy will roll over. You have to look at it this way, and I'm really fucking being racist and generalizing on this. If Diddy is brought up there's a special kind of word where if you have money, it burns a hole in your pocket, and it's called enrich. Do the math if you don't know what I'm talking about. And when you take that, because that culture, Dave Chappelle did it on his show, talking about you want to solve the economy problem, you just pay reparations and watch the blacks pour it back into the economy. I refuse to believe that Diddy and all of his associates, based on that culture, can run an organized ring like that well. He clearly had handlers. And if we're going to associate it to a much better
number one hand, you know who his number one handler was, who got him in the business and famous in the first place?
It had to be a Jew.
I feel a bell coming.
Yeah.
Clive Davis.
Okay.
Clive Davis.
There you go.
Look, I mean, I'm not making this up.
I didn't say you were.
I'm not making this up.
I didn't say you were.
Yeah.
I think that
I felt it coming.
He will be the fall guy. For some strange reason, I can't see Epstein. Again, and this is knowing what I know about criminals. You know, it's certain types of cultures, when you put the pressure on them, they fucking roll over. They fold like a card table. Epstein maybe just didn't want to play ball, thought he had too much power, so they got executed in his jail cell. I think Diddy, he's going to save his own ass, and I think if he comes forward and says, yeah, I had Donald Trump at a party getting blown by me and LeBron James, then you're going to say, yeah, no, that's valid.
Dominic, I agree. If there's actual video evidence, I agree. If there's no evidence, like physical evidence to prove that, you know, it's going to be tough.
Well,
it's going to be.
He
tough.
had security cameras everywhere in the house.
Would you watch it?
I agree. If there is physical evidence, I agree.
Would you watch it?
I think would you watch it?
I'd fucking 100%. 100%. I'd be watching.
I think the October surprise between three. Here's the three possibilities here. This strike could really have an economic impact. I'm reading about it right now. You're looking at this is a $1.2 billion cost daily of the two largest ports, Virginia and New York, New Jersey, losing $641 million to $650 million per day, respectively. Essential goods like perishable foods, bananas, cherries, imported alcohol, furniture, appliances, auto parts may see a huge price hike due to the supply chain disruptions. That could really cause a problem in the next 35 days and going on to the end of the year. So we got the Diddy thing too. I agree with you. Diddy could put something out there, or somebody could put something out there that involved the Diddy case. I think that's it. Or I think this thing escalates even further with Israel and Iran. And maybe there's some sort of actual boots on the ground where the United States Congress has to get together and maybe declare war. I don't know. I think
I still think, and again, this is a prediction, there will be a false flag attack on U.S. soil or on some army base somewhere in the Middle East.
Even now, the bombing that Iran's doing, if it hits a site and there's U.S. troops there, that's a perfect excuse to go, hey, we had 10.
Yeah, or if the Mossad hits it with one of theirs and blames it on Iran.
Yeah, sure. But it could be any of those three, in my opinion. It'll be interesting to see what happens. We're only 35 days away, so we'll see what happens here.
From what?
The election.
What?
Yeah, here we go. Here we go.
Election of who?
That's, damn, there's Wednesday. Fucking, whew. It's a good show, as usual. It's always Wednesdays. I love it, and I just, I don't even know what the fuck to think anymore. All right, kids, that's your Wednesday show. Go over to Spreely.com. You want more of these two gents? The Burn Pit Podcast. You could follow them on social media. You could listen to them or watch them live every Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern. I think that there's going to be a demand that's like, Monday's not enough. We need 5 days a week of this shit. Just coming down the pipe. Jews are the enemy. That's what they need. Damn it, kids. I don't know what else to tell you. Go out there, do this research yourself. Don't just arbitrarily listen because that's the biggest thing on the planet. I did. And if you want to connect with Matt and Scott, they'll send you the same stuff they send me. And it really, you have to sit there and step outside your comfort zone. I had an entire upbringing of don't you dare ever say anything bad about the Jews. And I'm still not. It's just the reality of it. It's like, holy fucking shit. If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, fucking admit it's a duck. It's very, very simple. Facts do not dictate emotion or opinions. Well, opinions they do. Guys, who you guys got coming up on Monday? Anybody in particular?
Monday's just me and Matt right now. You never know who's going to show up, though. Join us Monday live at 4 o'clock on Spreely TV. It's the only network that we go live at, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Spreely TV, it's your home for free speech. Roku, Apple TV, Fire Stick. Download the Freedom Hub app and check out great shows like Rants of Izzo, Burn Pit, Shannon Joy, Evening Rants.
Is Austin Peterson still on?
No, I don't think so. But
He left
you got
because of us.
Sean Parnell.
He left because of us.
All right. That's good.
Guys, have a great day. Go help somebody today. If you can't help them, just don't hurt them. See you tomorrow.